Congress faces a very busy new year after putting some major decisions until after the holidays. They put them off. Lawmakers did pass a temporary spending bill to keep the government running through January 19th. It includes short-term funding for the Children's Health Insurance Program, or CHIP as it's called, and extends authorization of the government's warrantless surveillance program, a measure adding $81 billion in disaster aid for hurricane and wildfire victims passed the House, but it did stall in the Senate. Congress returns January 3rd.
CBS News chief Washington correspondent and Face the Nation anchor John Dickerson is with us. Good morning. Lots to talk about. First, once again, Congress punting on this spending bill.
Yeah, that's right. Nobody was going to have a showdown right before Christmas, but this has caused tension in both parties because these spending bills are the way you use leverage to get done what you want to get done. So now all of that leverage and fighting and toing and froing, including a lot of promises that were made to get the tax cut bill passed, those are all bottled up for when this comes up again in January.
Tax cuts, the big achievement going into the new year. How well has the GOP and the president, who control Congress, position themselves for the midterms at this point?
Well, you know, it's interesting. The president's got a lot of achievements. The Republicans can point to things. I mean, the president's got achievements on lowering regulations, on judicial nominations and all of that. But if you look at his approval ratings, I mean, they are at historically low levels. The Republican Party's approvals are low. The hope among Republicans is that with this tax cut bill, that will improve. But the support for the tax cut bill is in some polls under 30%. So they have positioned themselves extremely well with their base of their party. But the question is, how big is that, and how will that pay off in the off-year election, and will they turn out? And by the way, there's a lot to happen between now and Election Day in 2018.
Well, the election of Doug Jones changed the game a little bit in Alabama, made the race a little tighter, 51 to 49. Right. So what issues do you think Mitch McConnell needs to focus on? Well, it will be tougher for him.
It's going to be tougher because getting 60 votes from Democrats, if you look at what Democrats are seeing in their base, they're seeing that their dislike of Donald Trump is keeping that base riled up. So why would you give Donald Trump a win? That's the way the Democrat. Now, on the other hand, what the Republicans will try and do on an issue like infrastructure is take an issue that's broadly popular among Democrats and say, here you go, we want to put something on infrastructure through the Congress. Will you join with us? And that'll be an interesting early battle. But in addition to infrastructure, you've got this question of entitlements. Paul Ryan wants to get to it. You've got a big deficit problem caused by the tax bill, but Mitch McConnell says we're not going to do it. President has said he's not going to touch Medicare and Social Security. They don't even like calling them entitlements. So if that really gets joined, it'll be a tough fight.
I don't want to miss what happened in the General Assembly. Essentially, the world denouncing the Trump administration's recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital. How does this play out as the U.S. looks to the world for help on North Korea and Iran and cooperation on other issues?
That's right. You have this there's a disconnect between, on the one hand, saying we're taking names, America first, and yet then when the president, even when he spoke at the UN, saying, you know, that using the body to create a world pressure on North Korea, and also using the body to say to China, you know, you want to be it's part of the way they're putting pressure on China is say you want to be a player on the world stage. You will gain favor on the world stage by helping us with North Korea. So you have to believe in the notion of a world stage and the notion of collective views from other countries. So on the one hand, you need that to exist, and then on the other, you say we're going to take names if you disapprove of what we're doing. There is a disconnect there, but there's often been a disconnect between the way the U.S. uses the UN, and then when it wants to do what it does and doesn't like what the UN is telling it, they say, well, we're going to go our own way.
UN Ambassador Nikki Haley was very firm yesterday.
Yeah.
And alone, yeah.
John, thank you so much.
Sure thing.
Sunday on Face the Nation, John and a roundtable of CBS News correspondents will review all the big stories from this year and look ahead to next year's elections. That's going to be Sunday right here on CBS.
Christmas Eve, John Dickerson is working.
Yeah, that's right. That's where we're going to be wrapping presents under the table.
I will be watching. I will be watching.